Chase Chrisley has admitted that he was humbled by his parents' incarceration. This was a hard time for him and his entire family. Savannah Chrisley took custody of their younger siblings, Grayson and Chloe. However, Chase also had a lot on his plate and was going through a lot at this time. He has admitted a lot of feelings that he had during the time that they were in prison. There is a lot to unfold and uncover. Keep reading to find out more about this situation. Chase Chrisley was arrested a few months ago for assault and battery. He was accused of punching a manager at a bar after being told to leave. The cops picked Chase up after he had already left. However, this was a turning point in his life. He decided that he needed to cut alcohol out. Chase knew that he didn't react well when he was drinking, so he decided to quit. Since then, he has worked on releasing a non-alcoholic seltzer called Gold Drop. This was a big step for him, but he is proud of himself, and his family and friends are proud of him as well. Chase Chrisley has admitted that he was humbled when his parents went to federal prison for tax evasion and fraud. I try to find a positive in every negative. My parents going away, even though it was a terrible situation, I had to learn a lot of lessons I probably wouldn't have learned until way later on in life. It definitely humbled me and showed me what the important things in life are and what to really be appreciative of. This was hard for Chase. However, he is glad that he grew the way he did during that time. It seems as though Chase was going through a lot when his parents were in prison. He realized that he had to pull himself together and work on himself. Not only that, but he had to do everything himself and not rely on his mom or dad anymore. It was hard for him. However, he was able to do it, and looking back, he is glad he could. What do you think about this situation? Do you think this was hard on Chase? Sound off in the comments below. We would love to hear your thoughts on this situation. For Chase Chrisley, the past 2 years have been anything but ordinary. Once the carefree, wisecracking golden boy of USA Network's Chrisley Knows best, Chase has gone from family prankster to reluctant patriarch, tasked with holding his family together while navigating a very public downfall. Now, for the first time since Todd and Julie Chrisley reported to federal prison on fraud and tax evasion charges, Chase is opening up in a raw, emotional reflection that has fans seeing a whole new side of him. I thought I had life all figured out. Chase admits in a candid interview shared via a podcast appearance and later echoed in an emotional Instagram post. But watching my parents go through what they've been through, it humbled me in ways I didn't even know I needed. From reality star to real life before the scandals, the Chrisleys were reality TV royalty. Their southern charm and over-the-top antics made them fixtures in American households. Todd, the razor-tongued patriarch, and Julie, the gentle but no-nonsense matriarch, built a mini-empire around their picture-perfect family. But in 2022, that facade crumbled when federal prosecutors brought a sweeping case against them, alleging years of bank fraud, wire fraud, and tax evasion. After a headline-grabbing trial, Todd was sentenced to 12 years in prison, and Julie received 7. Chase, then 26, found himself at a crossroads. The cameras were gone. The money dried up. The world he had known since his late teens, luxury cars, designer clothes, red carpets, disintegrated almost overnight. I went from feeling like I was on top of the world to realizing I was completely lost, he says. There were days where I woke up and couldn't even recognize my life. The weight of being the oldest son with Todd and Julie gone, Chase quickly stepped into a leadership role. Younger siblings Grayson and Chloe were now his responsibility, emotionally, spiritually, and sometimes financially. I wasn't prepared, he admits. But I had to figure it out quickly. These kids were looking at me like, what now? And I didn't have an answer. At first, Chase says he tried to keep up the illusion that things were fine. He posted smiling selfies, offered cryptic Bible verses on Instagram stories, and filmed upbeat interviews. But behind the scenes, he was unraveling. I was angry, he says. Angry at God, angry at my parents, angry at myself for not seeing the signs. But underneath, that was just a deep sadness. I missed my mom's voice. I missed my dad's sarcasm. Our family dinners. Even the little arguments. It was during one of those low points that he had what he calls his mirror moment. Late one night, after putting Chloe to bed and finding Grayson asleep on the couch, Chase stood in front of his bathroom mirror and broke down. I looked at myself and thought, who the hell are you now? I didn't like the answer.
Knew I had to grow up.
That was the night I... Turning toward Faith, Chase credits much of his healing to his renewed relationship with Faith. Raised in a Christian household, religion had always been a part of his life. But it wasn't until everything else was stripped away that he truly embraced it. I used to pray when I wanted something, he says with a bitter laugh. Now I pray just to make it through the day. He began journaling, attending therapy, and meeting with a spiritual advisor. His days became structured, mornings spent reading scripture, afternoons working out or handling legal paperwork for his family, evenings with Chloe and Grayson. Slowly, the chaos began to feel manageable. I still struggle, he admits, but I've stopped trying to control everything. There's peace in surrender. A complicated relationship with Todd and Julie despite the pain. Chase says he has never stopped loving his parents. His visits to their respective prisons, Todd in Pensacola, Florida, and Julie in Lexington, Kentucky, are emotional and grounding. I get a lot of hate for still defending them, he says, but I know their hearts. I know who they are when no one's watching. Did they make mistakes? Absolutely, but they're paying for them, and they're still my parents. In letters from prison, Julie has encouraged Chase to keep the family strong. Todd, meanwhile, has offered words of advice and plenty of classic one-liners. He's still Todd. Chase laughs. Even behind bars, he finds a way to roast me about my hair. Still, their absence leaves a hole that nothing can fill. Holidays are the hardest, he says, particularly the first Christmas without them. I just sat there staring at the tree, he recalls. It didn't feel like home. Chloe was trying to stay strong, but I could tell she was hurting. Grayson, too. We did our best, but there was this emptiness. Fame without fortune. In the aftermath of his parents' incarceration, Chase was offered multiple reality TV deals, some tasteful, others exploitative. He turned most of them down. People wanted the drama, he says. But I wasn't going to let my family's pain become a spectacle. Instead, Chase has focused on building a more meaningful brand. He's launched a podcast that explores themes of redemption and growth, often inviting guests who've been through public struggles of their own. He's also begun filming a docuseries that he says will tell the truth, not just the headlines. I want people to see that we're human, he explains, not just a tabloid story. He's also working on a memoir tentatively titled Humbled, which will chronicle his transformation from reality star to caretaker and spiritual seeker. It's not a tell-all, he clarifies. It's a tell-truth. Up about mental health. Chase also wants to break the stigma around mental health in the South, particularly among men. He reveals that he struggled with anxiety and depression in the months following his parents' sentencing, even contemplating checking into a rehab facility for mental exhaustion. I didn't end up going, he says, but I did finally open up to a therapist, and it saved me. Now, he's encouraging others, especially his male fans, to seek help when they need it. You don't have to be strong all the time. Sometimes strength is asking for help. Relationship rumors and Chloe's influence through his love life has made headlines over the years. Chase has largely stepped back from the dating scene. He was briefly engaged to Emmy Metters before the two called it off. Now, he says, his focus is entirely on his siblings. I want to be the kind of man Chloe looks up to, he says, visibly emotional. She's been through enough. I want her to know she's safe with me. Chloe, now 11, has become Chase's shadow. She joins him at charity events, tags along on errands, and even offers unsolicited fashion advice. She's got opinions, he laughs, but she keeps me grounded. He's also trying to set a good example for Grayson, who's navigating adolescence under an intense spotlight. We're figuring it out together, he says. I try not to lecture him, but I let him know I'm here. What's next for Chase Chrisley? As for what the future holds, Chase isn't making grand plans. For now, he's focused on staying present. I don't know what tomorrow looks like, he says, but I know who I want to be in it. He hopes his parents will be released sooner rather than later, and he's quietly optimistic about ongoing appeals. But he's also come to terms with the waiting. I've stopped counting the days, he says. Instead, I count the blessings. Every hug from Chloe, every laugh with Grayson, every lesson I learned.